they can't even fathom that you could just be who you were created to be and just attract. I'll give you an example. I put one of my jewelry, I'm known for jewelry. I love accessories, statement pieces. And so I name each one. I just posted, I'm just sharing my life. All of a sudden, a company reaches out to me and they put my picture that I was standing in the necklace in and say, we would like for you to be our brand ambassador. We want to give you 3 free necklaces. It comes because I'm in flow. It's just like water. When we pour water out, water's not saying you're pouring out too much. Stop. No, it's doing what it was created to do. It flows. And it's the same thing for us. We don't have to hustle for anything that is already ours in the first place.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Kristen Donnelly, and I am one of the good doctors of Abbey Research. At Abbey Research, we deeply believe that curiosity can change the world because it's the only thing that actually ever has. We change our minds, expand our worldviews, and kind of reshape how we see the world through stories and relationships, not statistics or shaming. And this series is in service of that. It's called Welcome to My World. And I get to chat to fascinating folks from all different walks of life who are different than me, which is literally everyone on the planet, about something in their lives that knowing it would make our lives richer. Because let's face it, folks, none of us know how to human. We're all figuring it out together. So let's keep figuring it out. And today's guest is absolutely no exception. I am joined by Kristie Kennedy, who is the image confidence expert. Lord, do I need that. She's a fellow TEDx speaker, an authentic lifestyle author, the owner of Queenfidence Global Image Consulting. Her electrifying, inspirational gift empowers women with confidence and clarity to find their voice, free that voice, and look fabulous while doing it. She's a certified radical resilience trainer who builds powerhouse mindsets, equipping people for success. She has an evocative teaching style that elevates self-perception from stuck to unstoppable, invisible to invincible, and timid to tenacious. Don't we all need that? Kristie, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, Kristen, it's so good to be here. Thank you. I love that introduction. My goodness, what a powerhouse. Super excited to know her.
Well, let's get cracking. I love this. What is a certified radical resilience trainer, woman? Tell me all about it.
Listen, I wrote this quote yesterday. When life feels the heaviest, that's when you must fight the hardest. And you have to be radical when it comes to bouncing back, going through setback after setback after setback. You ever hear the quote, we fall 7 times, we stand up 8? And that's what it means to be radically resilient, not just resilient, because you're going to be facing some great mountains. When you talk about creating the life of your dreams, many individuals are very passive as it relates to what they want to create in this world. And when you're talking about being a trailblazer, we're talking about someone who is going to disrupt their industry. You've got to be radical.
I mean, I agree. I talk about radical hospitality, and I think we don't use the word radical enough because it means, I think we associate a lot with like political activists or, such things like that, the radical feminists, radical, whatever. But really any event that is countercultural, any behavior that you do that goes outside of who as a human you have been programmed to be is a radical act. Mm-hmm. And we need to embrace that power more often than we do.
Oh, I love that. Who you've been programmed to be. Let's talk about those societal labels, because that's who I was. I was programmed to believe that I was timid, that I was shy, this introvert and not showing up, especially we talk about even as women, even to this day, even with Kamala Harris being in office, right? The vice president, second highest position in the United States of America, and we still are experiencing not getting paid what we're worth. We're still not using our voice to the capacity that we could be, that women should, there's still this unwritten rule that we should be quiet and just do what we were created to do, and that's birth babies and nurture needs.
Yeah. I just always felt like I could birth companies and not children, and that was going to be okay. But the world doesn't always agree. So I totally get it. I'm really curious though. You said like who you were, and obviously you are not that now. So can you talk me a little bit through your journey of how you got to where you are now?
Absolutely. So I was that shy, timid girl. I remember specifically, let's go to my college years, wanting to use my voice because now I'm a professional speaker. I do this 5 days a week. But there was a period in my life, just like Maya Angelou, who went mute for 5 years after being raped, at the age of 7, and then told the experience to her mother, and that was her mother's boyfriend. And she felt like her voice killed. And so, because they ended up killing the man who raped her, but she goes inward for 5 years. And so I lived a life of introspection. I was always thinking and contemplating and observing. And that skill, it's very useful as a coach. But one thing that was holding me back, Kristen, was not being able to think out loud, because I lived in this inner world. My journals knew all the secrets, and I had to step outside of myself in order to be heard by the public. One, you've got fear of judgment, because I was the one that used to be bullied. I was so different, and I didn't understand it at that time. I didn't know why I was being picked on, but when you're the oddball, you will be singled out. And now it is my greatest strength. My difference is the uniqueness that I possess. But at that time, you're young. You don't have any idea that it's your power. The very thing that's causing individuals to really, laugh at, it's the very thing that's going to cause you to make mounds of money. But when I was in college, I remember asking the professor if I could speak in private with him, because I stood before my peers in a communication class, and I always say I had the cotton ball effect, nothing would come out. But this is my next point. As a leader, I felt like in that moment, that was his opportunity to challenge me to confront the fear, because what we don't confront, we won't conquer. So I went 4 years like Maya, mute, not speaking a single word in any of my classes until senior year. And I'm sitting in the back of the classroom, and I raised my hand for the first time. I was wrong as 2 left feet, but I'm sitting in the back of the classroom weeping because I heard my voice for the very first time. That was the powerful moment. That was the recognition that I held the key, and I keep a key on my desk. She who holds the pen holds the power. And I began to write a different story, that I'm not going to be this timid, shy woman. I am going to be bold. I'm going to be fierce. I'm going to be ferocious. And I created 20 vision boards and 6 vision books to make sure I understood that I am not who I was. I am who I create myself to be.
I love that. And so along that journey, because I mean, as a college student, like we all have a lot of ideas. So is what you are now, was that on the vision board, or has there been an evolution?
From that point, no. At that point, I did not know in totality. The only thing I knew was that I was going to be on a stage, and whether it be like a Whitney Houston singer, because I sing also.
Okay.
I knew that I was called to the masses.
Right.
I didn't know what that was going to specifically look like at the time, but that was the beginning of the journey of using this voice to create change and impact in our world.
I love it. So what's your favorite stage that you've gotten to take?
I think the one that was the most challenging, it would have to be the TEDx stage, because I aspired to stand on that stage, and I was challenged on every single hand. I memorized my speech. I didn't have a speech coach, so I was slightly at a disadvantage, because many of them, they practice, I'm talking 6 months, 2 years out, and go over and over. So I learned the message within 3 months. And then 2 weeks before I had to present, Kristen, they told me that because it was a keynote in a different setting, it could not be used. So I had to scratch that and create a brand new message, mind you, memorize the message in 2 weeks, fly there, get there, and then they have technical issues. The company that I use, that was her first TEDx event. And so you can imagine the disappointment that we can't even use my footage because the audio is so horrific.
Oh my gosh. I've heard that nightmare story with some TEDx's before, that it's one of the things I would totally agree. I mean, the TEDx experience for me was totally transformative. It was very, for a whole host of reasons. It was very transformative. And I think it is for a lot of us. It's like a cauldron of fire that red dot is, and who you are you emerge different from it in a lot of ways. But yeah, because the TEDx is an independently licensed event, like TED puts some stuff in place, but like not really. And so a lot of my call after giving my TEDx is to kind of demystify TED as much as possible and teach people what questions to ask of their organizers and like what to look for, because I never want to hear another story like yours that is so disrespectful to the amount of time and energy and gifting that you put in, that the rest of us can't hear this now. So it's that's just a little minor soapbox, but it's so, it makes me grumpy. It makes me grumpy.
You're our fighter. You are our fighter.
So besides, that's such a TEDx nightmare. And we've all had nightmares in public speaking. Like I got somewhere once and was giving a talk, and it was like the entire face of resting bitch faces. Like I was connecting with 0 human persons, and I was like, I don't know what to do right now. And so like, it's all like your whole body starts feeling weird and you don't really know what to do. Like all that's kind of so hard. So I'm imagining that some of your work is probably doing some sort of coaching.
Yes.
Okay. Is it a lot of like transformational coaching? Is it a lot of one-on-one stuff?
Yes.
Oh, I'm jealous of your clients. So what kind of stuff do you get to do with them?
Oh, it's so fun. And I love it because, as you know, in the coaching space, we get to be creative. It's the perfect environment for my skill set, my gifting. And many of my clients are dealing with mental health issues. So we're talking about imposter syndrome, stress, anxiety. Every single day I'm dealing with that, goal setting, time management for the executive leaders, because many of them right now working from home, we're talking 9 Zoom meetings back to back. They'll tell me I don't even have time to pee. And so helping them, even use their voice for that. I'm going to end 10 minutes early. If the individual can't respect your time, you're going to have to respect your time, and your own body. You are in control of that.
Oh my gosh. I tell this to my husband. So my husband's in more corporate America than I am. And they've been having the same growing pains every company does with online scheduling. Like, how do you go about doing it? Like, who gets to add things to your calendar? Like they've struggled, and they got bought out in the middle of the pandemic. So the parent company then does different things than they do. And he'll come downstairs at the end of his day, and I work from my office still. So I'll get home, collapse in the couch, and I'll be like, so how was your day? And he's like, I got to pee once.
No.
I'm like, boyo, that's not okay. Like that's not okay. Like that's actually against labor laws. Like we can't do this. So I told him, like, you are the one in control here. You don't feel like it, and I totally understand why you don't, because you're being told that your calendar is the control factor and all those kind of things. But you just have to say, like, you go on and like every hour you block off the last 10 minutes or something. Like you get to put stuff on your calendar. And we had to think creatively about it, and he works in a lot of different time zones. But he finally did. He finally went in and from 12 to 12:30 every day, he just blocked it off. And he checked with his boss and kind of all that stuff. And a bunch of his colleagues were like, why'd you do that? He's like, because I needed to pee. I wanted to eat, because human food is important. But yeah, we have forgotten basic human decency in the and human body functions in the pandemic. It's been nuts.
You're absolutely right. And that's why we have to reestablish boundaries.
Yeah.
Because everyone's right, creating as they're going, what's the new norm. But at the same time, you get to say, I'm not taking midnight calls. I'm not even up one to even take a midnight call. No. But if you allow it, you ever hear that affirmation, what you allow will be permitted, and it's going to continue.
It's so hard because that is so countercultural to especially, and I'll just speak for the American work environment, that to teach anyone who does not work for themselves that they have control over their working environment. I'm sure for you, that is 90% of the mental battle with most of your clients.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because let's bring in fear. They fear that they're going to lose that job. That job is taking care of a $3,000 childcare bill every single month. their health, all these different things. And all it is, as you know, it's scarcity thinking, because if you think about how rich we are with internal resources, Kristen, we will always figure a way out. We will always have a solution. It's how willing are you to search for it, one, and how long are you willing to search for it?
Oh, as you said that, like you were saying that, I was like, I think that's the definition of resilience, is how much are you willing to use your internal resources to create external circumstances.
You caught that, Jewel.
Like, I think that's what it is, but you're the resiliency expert. So you tell me, does that resonate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll give you an example. One of my favorite entrepreneurs is Michelle Hoskins. Michelle Hoskins took a 150-year-old recipe that her grandmother left. And this woman had been in bankruptcy, all types of health issues. And she was living in the basement of her mother's home. And she gets a spark, an idea. Let's take it to the marketplace. She takes it to Denny's. Here she is, a nobody. Who am I? But I believe in the beauty of my dreams, Eleanor Roosevelt. So she knocks on the door every Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. for 2 years. This is radical resiliency, trying to get a conversation with the CEO. Well, the news gets to him. Why have you not had a conversation with her? They have a meeting arranged for her in North Carolina. She sits down with them and lets them taste this delicious syrup. And here we go. A $3 million contract was landed. 2 years, every Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. Are you willing to do whatever it takes for however long it takes?
Yeah. And I don't personally love Grant Cardone. I don't love his energy. I don't vibe with him, but I do like how he talks about that. One of the things of radically successful people is that they're willing to do whatever it takes in that kind of arena. Like, if you get a phone call that, like, you live in New York, but you get a phone call that there's a meeting you need to be at in LA, like, your response is not, hey, can you reschedule the meeting? Your response is like, hey, Delta, do you have a red eye? Like, we do what it takes to make it work, because we have it. And that's not the hustle and grind culture in my mind. That's still strategic understanding of your calling and your purpose on the planet, and doing whatever it takes to enact that calling. But like, if you're just hustle and grinding, like, blindly or at nothing, it's not going to get, I don't know. This is a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, miss that you can work as hard as you can at a thing that isn't your calling. And if it's not in alignment, it just might not happen.
Yeah. You said it right there. Because when you mentioned that hustling, I've been on that other end, and it leads to burnout. One, I can't tell you how many clients I'm coaching through burnout. They end up leaving their job, and they're, what do I do now?
Yep.
They can't even fathom that you could just be who you were created to be and just attract. I'll give you an example. I put one of my jewelry, I'm known for jewelry. I love accessories, statement pieces. And so I name each one. I just posted, I'm just sharing my life. All of a sudden, a company reaches out to me and they put my picture that I was standing in the necklace in and say, we would like for you to be our brand ambassador. We want to give you 3 free necklaces. It comes because I'm in flow. It's just like water. When we pour water out, water's not saying, you're pouring out too much. Stop. No, it's doing what it was created to do. It flows. And it's the same thing for us. We don't have to hustle for anything that is already ours in the first place.
I totally agree. And I just realized, as you were saying the necklace, that I got sidetracked and wanted to ask you about image consulting.
Yes. And so my background is image consulting, and that's why I created the company in the first place, because I've worked as a model instructor. I've really just gone through the whole beauty industry, from the day spas, you name it. I was involved in it, from jewelry making, makeup artistry. And so I've learned about women from every facet now to the mental health piece. But that's what got me into the mental health piece, because I would have conversations in the spa and they're on my table. And I remember clients saying, you should be a philosopher, because I'm sitting out here giving out advice. And I realized we're putting all this beautiful makeup on them, Kristen, and it's right here. It's their thinking that's stinking. And we've got to do some work underneath the helmet. And so that's what put me in this path of the image consulting piece. That's the last thing I focus on when I'm working with an executive leader, is her external appearance, because I have women that have degrees from, I'm talking Harvard, and they will not show up. We can do a Zoom meeting and they're going to hide. It's crazy. They don't believe that they deserve to be there. Imposter syndrome will show up, and it will absolutely halt their progress. It will halt the promotion just as fast as we can blink our beautiful eyes.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, imposter syndrome isn't real. You just have to whatever. And my thing, whenever we have those kind of conversations, is that you're not meeting people where they're at. Like, perception is reality. It doesn't matter if imposter syndrome is a lie or not. All of these are lies. They're all lies. So by telling somebody that it doesn't exist, who is deeply experiencing it, doesn't validate their paralysis in their own development.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
I mean, like,
I would love to give them my mindset, but I cannot.
No.
They're going to have to do their inner work.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, I think this is why I'm not a coach, is because I don't have the gift of leading people along like their own journey in this way. I'm not a clinical social worker for that same reason. I'm not a therapist. Like, I have a different calling. I take all those tools and use them in a different way, but that having that relationship is not my calling. And I'm so appreciative so much of folks like yourself who really see the ability to like help people unfurl themselves out into the world.
Love that. Yes. And I think because it's up close and personal to me, Kristen, because I remember when I didn't have the tools, I went through a 10-month depression and I was stuck. You're talking about paralysis. I remember launching my second time. I've launched 3 times in business, but the second time, oh my gosh, that was a doozy. I get a building decorated, had the ribbon cutting ceremony. 2 months later, I'm moving out just as fast as I moved in. I was field of dreams mentality, build it and they will come. Well, they never came because I didn't use my voice to be a herald, right? And here I am because I wasn't equipped mentally to handle this kind of disappointment, of public failure to that degree. It was foreign. I had been winning. And all of a sudden, here comes a massive failure. Some people aren't equipped with how to handle the setback, as I was mentioning. And that's why you have to be radically resilient. I had to do something radically different to get me out of that low place that no one even knew that I was in. Going back to, we can look the part, be the part, and get the part. I often say in my slogan, but I was looking the part, but I wasn't getting the part. I wasn't being the part. It was only one part.
I love that. And I think that's actually a really great place to hit pause on our conversation, because that idea of, are you mentally equipped for what you're stepping into has threaded itself throughout this entire conversation, but I don't want any of our listeners to miss it. That there is a piece of all of this about resiliency and everything else that talks about like knowing who you are.
Yes.
And that core understanding is evolutionary. First of all, you heard that from Kristie, that she knew pieces of it in her college journey and then knows more pieces now. I am certainly the same way. I knew pieces of myself at different times, but that the core of resiliency is knowing who you are.
I love that. You hit it on the head.
Oh man. Well, you just like not hit, like queued it up for me to knock the ball. Absolutely fantastic conversation. I loved it so much. Pals, if you loved it too, hit that thumbs up on the YouTube algorithm. If you loved the style of this conversation or even the content of it, we talk about a lot of these kind of things around here at Abby Research. We have a lot of different series and a lot of different ways of having it. So if you like hearing me talk and maybe would like to also meet Aaron, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss anything. This, however, has been a video in the series Welcome to My World. My guest has been Kristie Kennedy, who is once again, in case you forgot, in the spew of brilliance, a radical resiliency coach. And the ways to get a hold of her are going to be all below the show notes, so don't you worry. I'm Dr. Kristen Donnelly, and I'll see you next time on Welcome to My World.